The day of the big family dinner, my son-in-law said coldly, "We're going to celebrate at my parents' house. Don't come." I didn't argue. I simply went to an old friend's house where I was welcomed with a warmth, laughter, and a luxury they couldn't even imagine. When I posted the photo, my phone blew up with calls, because my friend is not just a friend, but someone who will expose their greed forever. Before I continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The ingredients covered my kitchen counter, evidence of optimism. Cranberries, fresh herbs, the expensive butter my wife used to insist on for her famous biscuits. I had been cooking since the morning before, following recipes I watched her perfect over more than 30 years of marriage. Mary didn't knock. She had a key, though she rarely used it. The deadbolt clicked. The door opened, and there she was, in her designer coat. The one I had helped pay for last spring when she mentioned needing professional attire for her manager position. "Dad, you're here." "Good." I wiped my hands on a towel, walking toward her for a hug. She dodged it, walking straight into the kitchen. Her eyes swept over the spread without comment. "Of course I'm here. I've been cooking since yesterday. You're coming Thursday, right? With Robert and the kids?" She set her purse on the counter, not meeting my eyes. "About that, we need to talk. Actually, first, I need a favor." The familiar tightness started in my chest. I recognized that tone, that posture. The car broke down. The mechanic says it's $800 for the repair. We don't have it right now, and Robert's commission check doesn't come until next week. $800? What's wrong with the car? Something with the transmission. I don't understand all the technical stuff. Can you help? My hand reached for my wallet before my brain reacted. Muscle memory from 3 years of this dance. Of course, family helps family. I counted out $800 in bills. Her shoulders relaxed as I pressed them into her palm. She folded them quickly, tucking them into her purse with practiced efficiency. "Thanks, Dad. I really appreciate it." She was gone in less than 15 minutes. Not a mention of Thursday. No comment on the food I had prepared. Not a goodbye hug. The next evening, I was setting the dining room table when my phone rang. I had extended the table for 6 people: Mary, Robert, their 2 children, and my neighbor's daughter who had helped me with groceries. I was placing the good silverware, the set my wife had inherited from her mother. "Julian, it's me. About Thursday." Robert's voice had that flat, administrative tone he used when delivering bad news to clients. I froze, the fork suspended over a plate. "Yes. What time should I expect you?" "That's the thing. We're going to celebrate at my parents' house. Don't come. It's going to be a small circle. Just close family." The fork trembled slightly in my hand. I set it down with careful precision. "I see. My mother already cooked for her number of guests. You understand?" "I understand." The line went dead. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the silence. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see the cranberry sauce cooling on the counter. My wife's recipe. The one she had taught Mary when she was 12 years old. I moved slowly, methodically. I removed the extra place settings one by one. Each piece of china returned to the cabinet was a small, deliberate act. Fork, knife, spoon, plate. My face remained expressionless in the reflection of the darkening window. Later, I sat in my recliner. The worn leather soft in the places where my wife used to rest her head on my shoulder. The mantelpiece in front of me displayed family photos in chronological order. Mary at her graduation, Mary's wedding, Mary's children at various ages. My late wife smiled from the center frame, frozen at 56, 3 years before cancer took her. I pulled out my laptop, opened the bank application, and started scrolling through the transactions. The pattern emerged like a crime scene under a forensic light. March, $200. Emergency medical bills. June, $2,800. Roof repair. September, $3,500. Robert's car accident. Deductible. November, $900. Children's dental work. 3 years of this. $47,000. Each request preceded by renewed contact. Each payment followed by weeks of silence. Close family. Just close family. I said it out loud to the empty room, and the bitterness in my voice surprised me. My laugh came out sharp, unfamiliar. 3 years. $47,000. Every time she calls, I think this time will be different. This time she wants to see her father, not his wallet. I opened my call log. 5 incoming calls from Mary this year. I checked my text messages. 3 texts. All logistical requests. Never conversation. I got up. I walked to the hallway where more photos covered the wall. I studied each one with the careful attention I used to give to fire inspection reports. In this one, Mary's birthday 3 years ago, her smile was radiant. That was just after I paid the down payment on her car. This one from Christmas 2 years ago, taken the week after I covered her mortgage payment when Robert's commission was late. In every photo where she looked genuinely happy, there was a recent transaction. In the casual snapshots, family dinners from years ago when my wife was alive, Mary's expression was different, present, real. I returned to the recliner as midnight approached. The house was too quiet. The food I had prepared would spoil before I could eat it all. The dining room table stood bare in the next room, a monument to rejected hospitality. But something had changed. The pain was still there, raw and immediate. Yet, beneath it, something harder was forming. Something cold and calculating. I spent 30 years as a fire captain, analyzing situations, making tactical decisions under pressure. If they only valued the money, they needed to understand what they were losing, not through confrontation. That would only make me seem bitter, desperate. No. They needed to see what my life could look like without them, what I could do with $47,000 a year, when I wasn't pouring it into a bottomless pit of ingratitude. The plan wasn't fully formed yet, but as I sat in the darkness, looking at those photos, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Purpose. The holiday morning found me in the same chair, still in yesterday's clothes. I hadn't slept. Dawn crept through the windows, illuminating the dining room table in the next room. 6 place settings last night. 0 this morning. The mathematics of abandonment. Coffee chilled in my hand. I had brewed it sometime. I didn't recall when. The prepped food was in the refrigerator, sealed in containers that would never be opened. My wife's cranberry sauce, the herb butter for the biscuits. All meaningless now. My phone lay face down on the side table. I'd put it that way deliberately. I didn't want to look at the screen. I didn't want to confirm that Mary wouldn't call, wouldn't text, wouldn't acknowledge the casual cruelty of yesterday's exclusion. At 0 hours 47 minutes, the phone vibrated. I almost let it go to voicemail. I didn't recognize the number, but the old instinct. 30 years of emergency calls. It made me answer on the 4th ring. Hello? My voice came out rough, unused. Julian Clark, this is Robert Jones, Fire Academy, class of '85. Tell me you remember your old study partner. I sat up. My brain struggled to shift gears. Robert Jones, ladder drills, and midnight study sessions. And the practical exam he failed twice before I showed him the weight distribution trick. Bobby? Jones? The guy who couldn't pass the ladder drill to save his life? His laughter boomed through the speaker. genuine and warm. The one, until you taught me the trick. I owe you a few meals for that. That was 40 years ago. Some debts don't expire. Listen, I heard from Michael Smith that you might be alone today. Is that true? I hesitated. Michael Smith had retired the same year I did, moved to the next town over. We had had coffee twice in 3 years. We weren't close, but the fire department network stayed connected in quiet ways. Plans changed, then changed them again. I'm hosting dinner at my place in the estates. 15 people, too much food, and I could use another voice from the old days. My wife's family stories are killing me. Come keep me sane. The estates. The wealthy suburb 20 minutes west, where tech executives and old money built waterfront properties. I had driven through there exactly twice in my life. I wouldn't want to impose. Julian, you saved my career. You can impose whenever you want. Come on, please. Something in his voice, not pity, not obligation, genuine desire for company. The contrast with yesterday's phone call was so sharp it almost hurt. What time? At 2 o'clock. I'll text you the address. And Julian, it's good to hear your voice. After he hung up, I stayed still for another minute. Then I got up. The act of rising from that chair felt significant, like choosing action over paralysis. The shower water ran hot over my shoulders. I stood straighter under the spray. I felt the muscles respond. I shaved carefully. I trimmed my beard with the precision I used to apply to inspection reports. In the mirror, I looked like myself again, not the hollowed-out version who had spent the night in that chair. I chose a good shirt. Dark blue, still crisp. Mary had given it to me 2 Christmases ago, I realized as I buttoned it. The irony almost made me change. But no, I would keep it on. I would let it remind me of the pattern. Walking toward the door, I stopped at the hallway photo wall. 23 photos, arranged chronologically. I examined each one systematically, the way I used to review incident reports for patterns. This one, Mary's 33rd birthday, her bright smile, arms around me. That was the weekend after I covered the down payment on her car. $3,000. This one, Christmas 2 years ago. She's laughing, holding a gift. That was the week I paid her past due mortgage. $2,800. This one, last summer's barbecue, one of the rare times they visited. Mary looks happy. I checked my bank app, yes, June 20th. Just after I transferred $1,900 for an emergency dental job for the children. My finger traced the timeline. Every genuine smile coincided with recent money. In the older photos, from when my wife was alive, Mary's expressions were different. Present, engaged. Those were taken before she learned to see me as an ATM. I grabbed my keys. I walked out to my car. I backed out of the driveway without looking toward the kitchen, toward all that wasted preparation. The drive to the estates took 30 minutes. I headed west on the highway, passing the exit for the town where Mary's neighborhood stretched in rows of identical houses. I didn't even glance in that direction. My hands gripped the wheel firmly, eyes forward. Traffic was light. Most people were already at their destinations, gathered around tables with families who actually wanted them there. Robert built 12 restaurants, I said out loud to the empty car. Michael Smith had mentioned it in passing last year, talking about academy buddies who had done well. He's worth millions, Michael had said. And he wants my company, not my money. He wants stories, not wire transfers. The scenery shifted as I drove. The middle-class neighborhoods of the city gave way to the manicured estates of the affluent area. Houses set back from the road behind gates and landscaped grounds. Century-old trees and water views, the kind of wealth that didn't advertise. It just existed. She's going to see these photos, I continued, speaking as the plan formed. She's going to ask questions. Where was I? Who was I with? Why didn't I invite her? My jaw tightened as the strategy crystallized. Not revenge through confrontation, not cutting her off completely. That would make me seem bitter, hurt. No, something more useful. Show her a life she's not a part of. Show her what money can buy when it's not being drained in $800 increments. Let her wonder. Let her calculate what she's missing out on. Let her see her father living well, comfortable, connected, enjoying the fruits of his retirement, not needing her at all. The GPS announced my exit. I turned onto a tree-lined street where the homes sat on acre lots, each one a statement of achieved success. Bobby's place would be impressive, I realized, and that was perfect, because Mary was going to see the photos. She monitored my sparse social media. I had noted her likes, her occasional comments designed to maintain the illusion of connection. She was going to see me in this scene, and she was going to realize exactly what had changed. The GPS guided me down streets where houses were set back behind gates and landscaped walls. Every turn revealed another statement of wealth. Modern glass structures, renovated craftsman estates, properties that commanded views of the river valley. This was not fire captain retirement money. This was success. Bobby's address led me to wrought iron gates with a security camera and intercom. I pressed the button. I heard a crackle. "Julian, finally!" Bobby's voice boomed through the speaker. The gates swung inward. I drove through, parking between a luxury electric vehicle and a German SUV. The house rose before me. 3 stories of contemporary architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, a terrace overlooking the valley. I sat in my car for a moment, hands on the wheel, and took a deep breath. Bobby opened the front door before I reached it. He held out his hand formally. Then he pulled me into a hug. I stiffened, unused to genuine affection after 3 years of transactional greetings. But his grip was firm, real. I found myself relaxing into it. "Look at you. You haven't aged a day since the academy. You're lying, but I appreciate it. This place, Bobby. The restaurant business paid off. Come on in. Sophia's been cooking since yesterday. She's excited to meet the man who saved my career. I just taught you the ladder drill. You taught me not to quit. That's worth more than any drill." Sophia Jones appeared in the foyer, elegant in a simple dress, her smile warm and uncalculating. She took my hand in hers. "Bobby talks about you constantly. The friend who wouldn't let him fail. Welcome." The house opened up around us. Hardwood floors, exposed beams, that massive wall of windows framing the view of the valley. 15 people moved through the space. Conversations flowed. Wine glasses caught the light. Children's laughter from somewhere upstairs. This was what the holiday was supposed to feel like. Dinner was held around a long table set with crystal and china. I found myself seated between a woman who ran a tech firm and a man who owned commercial properties. Real conversation sparked, not small talk, not polite noise. 30 years as a fire captain, the businessman said. "What was the worst call you ever took?" I paused. I felt the old weight settle. "The ones we got to too late. Those stick with you." His wife leaned forward. "I can't imagine carrying that. How do you process it? You remember why you did it? The rescues matter more than the losses, eventually." Bobby's voice came from the end of the table. "Julian saved more people than anyone in our district. 3 commendations. Tell him about the apartment complex fire in '98. I told the story. Bobby chimed in with details, laughing about how he'd taught me everything. The table listened, really listened. They engaged with the narrative. They asked follow-up questions. No one checked their phones. No one glanced at their watches. After the meal, Bobby led me out onto the terrace. The city skyline gleamed miles away, lights stretched across the valley like scattered stars. The November air was cold but clear. "You guys need a picture." Sophia appeared with her phone. "Huddle up. The city lights are perfect tonight." "Julian, listen to her. She documents everything." "I'm not exactly photogenic these days." "Nonsense. You look like what a fire captain should look like. Strong and dependable. Come here." Bobby's arm rested on my shoulders. I stood straight, chin up. Sophia moved around us, finding angles. "Perfect," she called out. Bobby spoke quietly. His voice meant only for me. "Thanks for coming today. I meant it when I said I owe you. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. That day of the ladder drill, I was ready to quit. You saw something in me I didn't see in myself. Now look." He gestured toward the house, the view, the life he had built. "This exists because you didn't let me fail." Home at 9 o'clock. The silence enveloped me differently than it had that morning. I sat in my recliner. I pulled out my phone. I found the best photo Sophia had taken. Bobby and I grinning like academy recruits, the city lights shimmering behind us. I opened my social media. I uploaded the image. I captioned it carefully. "Holiday with old friends. Thanks, Bobby, for reminding me what real family feels like." My finger hovered over post. I read the caption again. I thought about Mary seeing it, about the calculations that would follow. Then I hit the button. I set the phone face down on the side table. "Get ready." I let it sit while I looked at the dark window, watching my reflection instead of the street beyond. 20 minutes passed before I picked up the phone again. The screen exploded with notifications. 17 text messages, 3 missed calls, all from Mary. I scrolled through the messages slowly, watching the progression. "Dad, are you at someone's house? That place looks expensive. Where is that?" "Dad, who is Robert Jones?" I looked him up. He owns restaurants. "Why didn't you tell me you had rich friends? This is important." "Call me. We need to talk about this. This changes things." I put the phone down. I picked up my tea. I took a sip. The liquid had grown cold, but I drank it anyway. The phone rang. Mary. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Finally. "Where were you today? I've been trying to track you down." "I see. 17 texts. That house? Whose house is that?" "It looks like a mansion." "Robert Jones's, an old friend from the fire academy." I looked him up online. He owns 12 restaurants. "Dad, why didn't you tell me you knew people like that?" "You never asked about my friends? You ask about money." The silence stretched between us. I heard Robert's voice in the background. "Let me talk to him. This is important, Dad. They're connections." "I'm going to bed, Mary. It's been a long day." I hung up. I switched the phone completely off. In the dark, I smiled. I turned the phone on the next morning. It took 3 minutes to load the notifications. 23 new messages, 7 missed calls, 4 voicemails, all from Mary and Robert. I made coffee first. I took my time with breakfast. Then I reviewed the backlog. Mary's texts had evolved overnight. The first few maintained a veneer of concern. "Dad, are you okay? I just want to make sure you're safe." By 2 o'clock in the morning, the mask had slipped. "We should discuss your social circle. These connections could benefit the whole family." At 10 o'clock 15 minutes, my phone rang. "Robert." I answered on the 4th ring. "Julian? Hey, it's me. I saw your post. Interesting place your friend has." "Yes." "So, Robert Jones. Mary says he's in the restaurant business. Pretty successful, it seems. He works hard. Built it all himself." "That's impressive. Are you too close? I mean, do you see him often?" And why does that matter, Robert? A pause. I could hear him recalculating. Just wondering. You know, families should know about your social circle, especially when it includes people of significance. Significance? Financial significance? I mean, 12 restaurants. That's serious wealth, estate planning territory. There it was. Not even subtle. I walked to my window. I looked out at my modest street as Robert continued to talk about family interests and keeping everyone informed. I have to go, Robert. Wait. When can we meet? Coffee? Lunch? We should catch up properly. I'll let you know. I hung up before he could respond. The pattern continued. Friday, 4 calls, 11 texts. Saturday, 6 calls, 15 texts. Mary's SUV in my driveway twice when I returned from errands. I didn't open the door. Sunday morning brought a new approach. Mary called at 9 o'clock, her voice soft, calculated. Dad, about the holiday. I feel terrible about the misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? We could have invited you. Robert's mother had mentioned she might not have enough seating, but she managed. We just thought you'd be uncomfortable with people you don't know. But I spent the holiday with 15 people I barely knew. I felt wonderful. That's different. It is. They wanted me there. They valued my company, not my wallet. A sharp intake of breath. That's not fair. Fair. You needed $800 on Tuesday. By Wednesday, I wasn't close enough family for Thursday. By Friday, I'm suddenly important again. What changed, Mary? That's not... We worry about you. You worry about Robert Jones's net worth. You Googled him before calling to see if I was okay. I was worried. You were calculating. Just as you calculate every visit, every call, every text. You're counting what you can extract. Silence. Then her voice turned cold. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in 3 years, I'm being honest. I ended the call. I sat in my recliner, looking at the family photos on the mantel. The same photos I had studied days ago, watching the pattern emerge. Now I saw something else. A timeline of my own enablement, my own willingness to be used because I was terrified of losing the only family I had left. But I had already lost them. That loss happened years ago when my wife died, and the buffer between us dissolved. I had just been too desperate to see it. Monday morning, I sat at my computer, opened a search window, and typed, "estate planning attorney." Reviews popped up. I read carefully, making notes on a legal pad. Patricia Brown, 15 years experience, specializes in complex estates and will modifications. Her testimonials mentioned protecting assets and ensuring proper legacy distribution. I dialed her office at 10 o'clock. Brown Law Firm, how can I help you? I need to schedule a consultation regarding estate planning and will modification. Of course. May I ask what prompted this decision? I need to ensure my assets go where they are appreciated. A brief pause. The receptionist's voice warmed with understanding. I understand. We have an opening tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Would that work for you? Perfect. I'll bring all relevant financial documents. Excellent. Ms. Brown looks forward to meeting you. Mr. Clark, Julian Clark. After hanging up, I pulled out my filing cabinet. Bank statements, investment portfolios, property deeds, insurance policies, all meticulously organized. The fire captain in me never left. I spread the documents over my dining room table, reviewing the numbers. Retirement pension, $4,200 monthly. Social Security, $1,100 monthly. Investment accounts, $340,000. Home value, $425,000. Paid off. Life insurance, $500,000. Total estate value, Approximately $1,265,000. More than enough to matter. More than enough to make them desperate. I gathered the documents into a folder, placing it by the door for tomorrow's appointment. My phone vibrated. Another text from Mary. "Dad, please, can we talk? Really talk?" I texted back. "I have an appointment tomorrow. We can talk after that." Her response was immediate. "Appointment? What for? Are you okay? Is it medical?" I smiled. I turned off my phone and went to make dinner. Let her wonder. Let her calculate. Let her spend the night imagining the worst-case scenarios about my health, my estate, her access to both. Tomorrow, I would begin building walls she could not climb. Tomorrow, I would ensure the pattern of exploitation ended permanently. Tomorrow, Patricia Brown would help me ensure my assets went somewhere they created value, not fed vampires. The text message arrived Tuesday morning. "Dad, can we talk? In person? Just coffee?" I waited 3 hours before replying. Let her wonder. Let her calculate. Finally, I texted, "Tomorrow, downtown, Bernice's Coffee, 10 o'clock in the morning." Her reply came in seconds. "Thank you. We'll be there." "Will be." Of course, Robert would come. They operated as a unit when money was involved. Wednesday morning. I arrived at Bernice's 15 minutes early. I chose a corner table with clear sight lines to the entrance. The street, the restrooms, old habit from fire scenes. Always know your exits. Always maintain awareness. The barista brought my black coffee. I thanked her by name, reading it from her tag. "Thank you, Jenny." Through the window, I watched them park at 10 o'clock, 17 minutes. Mary touched up her makeup in the visor mirror. Robert adjusted his collar, preparing for the performance. When they entered, Mary's smile was too wide. Robert's handshake was too firm. "Dad, you look good. Are you sleeping well? Eating well?" As always, they sat across from me. Robert called Jenny over for their orders. Complicated drinks with multiple modifications. I waited, sipping my black coffee. "Quite the holiday you had," Robert started. "Looked like a good get-together." It was. "We feel terrible about the mix-up with our plans." Mary leaned forward, her voice dripping fabricated concern. "If we had known you had alternatives..." They didn't ask if I had alternatives. She blinked, readjusted. "Well, anyway, we're glad you weren't alone. This Robert Jones. You've known him a long time." There it was, 5 minutes in, the real agenda. Since 1985, Fire Academy. We were study partners. Then we worked adjacent districts for years, and he got into restaurants. Robert's tone suggested this was fascinating, not transparent fishing. That's an interesting pivot from firefighting. He always wanted to build something of his own. After retirement, he took the risk. Started with a small place in a local neighborhood. Grew from there. Now he has 12 across the region. Mary's eyes widened. "That's incredible. You must be proud of your friend." "I am. He earned everything he has." Their drinks arrived. Mary barely acknowledged Jenny, too focused on extracting information. "You see him often?" Robert stirred his latte slowly. "I mean, is it a regular thing? Or was the holiday special?" "We lost touch for a few years. He reached out when he heard I might be alone for the holiday." "How did he hear?" Mary's question was quick, sharp. "Fire department network. We stay connected. People care about each other." "How sweet." Her voice was saccharine. "You never mentioned having such successful friends, Dad. You never asked about my friends. You ask about money. There's a difference." The silence fell like a curtain. Mary's fingers tightened around her mug. Robert's jaw worked. "Come on, Julian." Robert attempted humor, his salesman's recovery. You can't blame us for being curious about the mansion photos. Curious about what exactly? The house? The success? Or what it might mean for you two? Dad, that's not fair. Robert Jones values me because I taught him not to quit. Because we saved lives together. Because we are friends. I lean forward slightly. Not because of what I can give him. Maybe you two should think about what you value. Mary's face flushed. Robert's forced smile evaporated. I stood up. I placed the exact change on the table for my coffee plus the tip. Not a cent more. I have to go. I have an appointment tomorrow that requires preparation. What appointment? Mary's voice rose slightly. Is everything okay? Everything is fine. I'm handling some personal matters. What kind of matters? Robert also stood, blocking my way slightly. I looked him in the eye. I held the gaze until he stepped aside. Personal, as I said. Enjoy your coffee. I walked out into the November cold. I crossed the street to my car. I didn't look back immediately. I started the engine. I adjusted the mirror. I gave myself a reason to glance toward the coffee shop. They were sitting together, heads bowed in intense conversation. Mary pulled out her phone. Robert gesticulated emphatically. I could imagine the exchange. Personal matters? What does that mean? I don't know. But if he has friends with that kind of money... I merged into traffic. I drove home. Let them calculate. Let them Google Bobby's net worth, his properties, his success. Let them wonder what other assets their father might have, what other wealthy friends might be in his circle. Because tomorrow, I would begin building walls they could never breach. Tomorrow, I would ensure their greed met a locked, unyielding door. The appointment with Patricia Brown wasn't just about protecting my money. It was about reclaiming my agency. They had spent 3 years treating me as a resource to be extracted. Tomorrow, I would become granite. Back home, I spread out the documents again. Bank statements, screenshots of text messages, social media posts, the evidence of the systematic exploitation. 3 years of emergencies that were never emergencies, just sophisticated theft disguised as family need. I would present this to Patricia not as complaints, but as facts. Not as emotion, but as data. Tomorrow would be the first concrete step to ensuring my legacy went somewhere it mattered. Somewhere it would create value, not enable vampires. Patricia Brown's office occupied the 12th floor of a downtown building overlooking the river. I arrived 20 minutes early, the manila folder on my lap. The waiting room chair positioned where I could see both the elevator and the office entrance. Other clients came and went. A young couple, expressions of relief. An older woman, a crumpled tissue in her hand. At 1:53, the receptionist said my name. Mr. Clark, Ms. Brown will see you now. Patricia's office was professionally warm. Law books lining shelves, bar certification framed. Family photos showing her with adult children. Genuine smiles in those pictures. Arms around each other. The kind of family that worked. She stood up, held out her hand. Firm grip, direct eye contact. Mr. Clark, thank you for coming in. Please have a seat. Your initial call mentioned estate planning and will modification. What has motivated this decision? I placed the folder on her desk, but didn't open it yet. I need to ensure my assets go to people and organizations who value what I've built. I understand. Has something specific happened? I've had a revelation about who values me versus who values my wallet. She nodded slowly, settling back in her chair. That is more common than you might think. Tell me more. I opened the folder. 3 years of bank statements, highlighted entries, screenshots of text messages, social media posts, organized chronologically, cross-referenced. A fire captain's attention to evidence. Over 3 years, I've given my daughter $47,000, each time claiming an emergency. Each time, the money went somewhere else. And these posts show a vacation in March of 2023, 2 weeks after claiming $8,000 in medical bills. I kept my voice level. I'm not a fool, Ms. Brown. I'm just tired of being treated like one. Let's walk through some of these. Let's start with the single largest amount, August of 2023. She said her roof was failing, imminent water damage. The contractor needed a deposit right away, $8,600. I wired it that afternoon. And the actual use? Her husband posted photos of their new 75-inch television and sound system, video game setup. No mention of roof repairs. I pulled out another document. Their roof is fine. I drove by to check. Patricia's pen paused. You verified this. I am methodical. It comes from 3 decades of investigating fire scenes. You learn to verify the evidence, not accept stories. She continued reading, occasionally asking questions. When did contact typically occur? Did she ever repay amounts? What was our relationship like before these requests began? I answered each question directly. The pattern was clear. Contact correlated 100% with financial requests, never with relationship maintenance. Finally, Patricia set down her pen. The law gives you total discretion over your estate. You can structure this in a number of ways. Could I disinherit her completely? No. The word came out firm. She is still my daughter. I will not cut her out entirely. Then we limit her access. A testamentary trust. She receives benefits only after your death. Controlled distribution, no lump sum. It prevents her from spending it all at once. And the majority of the estate? You mentioned charities, animal shelter, firefighters foundation. These are deductible and significant. We can structure a 70% for charity, 30% for her. I considered this. 70% to organizations that saved lives, helped communities, made real differences. 30% for Mary. Enough to show I didn't hate her, not enough to reward her behavior. Can she contest this? She can try. But with your clear mental competency and documented justification, it's unlikely she would succeed. Especially with this pattern of financial exploitation you've documented. What else should I consider? A living trust for the current assets. It protects them while you're alive. You maintain control, but they're shielded from claims or manipulation. If she tries to press you for money, the trust makes it impossible. How long does this take? This will cost $3,500. That includes the new will, the living trust, and all necessary state filings. Documents ready in 1 week. I pulled out my checkbook. I wrote $3,500 without hesitation. I tore the check cleanly off the perforation. When can I sign? I'll have everything prepared for December the 5th. You'll need 2 witnesses who are not beneficiaries. I'll bring my friend Bobby and his wife. Perfect. She took the check. She made a note. Once signed and notarized, this becomes your governing estate document. Your daughter won't know about it unless you tell her. Oh, I'll tell her. I stood up, gathering my documents. When the time is right. We shook hands. Patricia walked me to the door. Mr. Clark, you are doing the right thing. Protecting what you built is not selfish. It is wise. Outside, the afternoon sun filtered between the downtown buildings. I walked to my car feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Not vengeful, not angry, just clear. For 3 years, I had operated from fear. Fear of losing my only family, fear of dying alone, fear that saying no would permanently drive them away. but they had already driven themselves away. They had reduced our relationship to transactions. They made me a resource instead of a father. Now I was taking back control, not through confrontation or cutting them off, but through legal protection and strategic distribution of my legacy. 70% would go where it mattered. 30% would be enough. December the 5th couldn't come fast enough. The next 3 days passed quietly. I reviewed Patricia's preliminary documents. I made notes for the December the 5th signing. I tried not to think about Mary's escalating calls. 6 in 2 days, each voicemail more urgent than the last. On December the 2nd, late morning, I was reading when I heard a car in my driveway through the window. Mary's SUV. Before I could react, my front door burst open. "Grandpa?" Luke and Emma ran in, their voices bright with genuine excitement. I barely had time to close the legal documents folder before Emma launched herself into my arms. Behind them, Mary and Robert walked in more slowly, watching. "We missed you. Mom said we could finally visit." I held Emma close. I looked at Luke, taller than I remembered. "I missed you both too. Let me look at you. You've grown. I'm in 1st grade now." Emma squirmed with pride. "I can read chapter books." "Chapter books? You'll have to read one to me." Mary stood near the kitchen entrance, not sitting. "They've been asking for you constantly." I met her eyes over Emma's head. "Then why has it been 4 months?" She didn't answer. Robert moved toward the window, hands in his pockets, surveying my living room like an appraiser. For 10 minutes, I forgot everything else. Luke showed me his school project, a diorama of the solar system, carefully constructed. Emma insisted her stuffed rabbit needed my special hug. These moments were pure, uncomplicated. Their love was real. But Mary and Robert remained standing, unsettled, not relaxed, waiting. Robert started casually, his voice too smooth. "We've been looking at houses in a residential neighborhood. Good school, safe neighborhood. We found one we love." I continued helping Luke adjust a planet that had come loose. "Sounds like you've made a decision." "Almost. Just need to finalize the financing. You know how banks are. They want a 20% down payment these days. On a $300,000 house, that's $60,000. My hands paused on the diorama. That's a significant amount. "But it's worth it for the children's future, don't you think?" Mary's voice had that familiar sweetness, the tone she used when asking for money. Luke looked up at me, confused by the sudden tension. I kept my face calm for him. "That area has the top-rated elementary school in the county." Robert picked up his pitch. "Luke would have access to advanced programs, and Emma could walk to school," Mary added. "It's 3 blocks from the house we found." I stood up, putting distance between myself and the children. "This is not an emergency. It's a lifestyle upgrade. The kids need room to grow. Our current house is too small. Your current house has 3 bedrooms. It's adequate. Dad, don't you want your grandchildren in a good neighborhood? With good schools?" Mary's voice rose slightly. "Dad, we're family. We know you have savings. You've helped us before." "I am not a bank." Emma looked between us, her smile fading. Luke gripped his diorama protectively. Robert's casual facade cracked. "You're being selfish, Julian. Your friend has millions, and you have enough savings. We know you have it. Family helps family." Family. The word came out sharp. Where was my family on the holiday? I sat alone in this house while you celebrated somewhere else. We explained that. You didn't explain anything. You excluded me. Then you saw photos of Bobby's house and suddenly remembered I'm family. That is not family. That is calculation. That's not fair. Are you asking for help for your grandchildren? No. You are using my grandchildren to manipulate me. There is a difference. Emma started to cry. The sound cut through me like broken glass. Mary ushered both children toward the door, her face tight with fury. Come on, kids. Grandpa needs time to think about what's important. I know exactly what is important, and I know what is not. Robert stepped close, his voice dropping to a thread. Don't expect us to keep bringing the kids around if you're going to reject your own family. You mean, don't expect me to let you use them as leverage? Understood. Dad, you're making a mistake. The only mistake was enabling your behavior for 3 years. I am correcting it now. Emma writhed in Mary's arms, reaching out to me. Grandpa, why are we leaving? I couldn't answer. I watched them rush to the car. Emma dropped her stuffed rabbit on the sidewalk. I picked it up, walking to the car before they drove off. I handed it to her through the window. Our eyes met. She didn't understand. How could she? They drove away. I stood in my driveway, watching until the SUV disappeared around the corner. Inside, the house felt emptier than before. Luke's diorama was on my coffee table, one planet still loose. I fixed it carefully. Then I put everything next to the door. Maybe I could return it. Maybe not. The rabbit Emma dropped had left a small impression on the $60,000, 6 times their largest previous request, and framed as if it were for the children who had been denied to me for 4 months until they needed something. I picked up my phone. I called Patricia's office. I left a message confirming the December the 5th appointment. No changes to the plan. Proceed as discussed. Then I sat in my recliner, and I allowed myself to feel the cost of choosing dignity over manipulation. It was high, but I would pay it. That night, I barely slept. Emma's confused face haunted me every time I closed my eyes. By dawn, I was sitting at my kitchen table, coffee cooling in my mug. Emma's stuffed rabbit was on the chair beside me. I had taken it from the car before they drove away. I kept it, maybe as evidence of what they had done, maybe just because it felt like I was holding on to something. At 9 o'clock, I called Bobby. I didn't plan what to say, I just needed to talk. Julian, everything okay? You sound rough. I had a situation yesterday. I need to get out of my head. Want to talk about it? Not yet. I need to do something useful first. Pause then. City Animal Shelter. I volunteer there sometimes. Physical work. Good people. The animals don't care about your problems. His voice warmed. I'll call ahead. Ask for Viviana Campos, best person there. At 10 o'clock, 30 minutes. I was parking at the City Animal Shelter on Main Street. The building was modest, worn but clean. Dogs barked from somewhere inside. The smell hit me as I walked in. Animals, cleaning supplies, kibble. It reminded me of the fire station somehow. Organized chaos with purpose. The coordinator greeted me warmly. Bobby called. Welcome. Let me find Viviana. She led me through the kennels to a quiet corner where a woman was sitting on the floor with an elderly Labrador. Silver hair pulled back. Practical clothes. Soft hands on the dog's graying muzzle. Viviana, this is Julian, Bobby's friend. The woman looked up. Warm eyes, laugh lines. You're Julian? Bobby called about you. Welcome. Have you worked with dogs before? She rose smoothly. Not formally. I always wanted one, but the fire department schedule made it tough. You were a firefighter. She studied me with open interest, not calculation. Then you know how to stay calm in chaos. Perfect temperament for this work. This is Duke. He's 14 years old and nervous around men. Let's see if we can change his mind. I crouched down slowly. Duke watched me, unsure. "Hello, old man. I know how it feels when people give up on you." Viviana's gaze sharpened. "Yes, I imagine you do." We worked for 3 hours. The tasks were simple: feeding, cleaning, walking dogs that pulled too hard or barely pulled at all. Viviana moved with practiced efficiency, explaining each animal's history without sentimentality. "Duke has been here 3 months. The owner went into assisted living. The family didn't want an old dog. People treat them like they're disposable once they're no longer convenient." "Not just dogs?" She glanced at me sideways. "I've learned that older beings, people or animals, get discarded when they're viewed as burdens instead of beings with value." "Sounds like you've had some experience with that." "Enough to recognize it in others." We settled into an easy rhythm. She demonstrated the proper leash hold for an anxious terrier. I followed her lead. Careful movements. When the dog relaxed, she smiled. Wordless approval. During a break, we sat on a bench outside. She offered me half of her sandwich. I accepted. We ate in companionable silence, watching a volunteer play with puppies in the yard. She didn't fill the silence with chatter. After 15 minutes, she asked softly, "Are you okay?" "I don't mean generally. I mean today." The directness caught me off guard. "Family issues?" She nodded once. "Coffee after our shift. Sometimes talking helps." The coffee shop was 2 blocks away, the same one where I had met Mary, but this felt entirely different. No calculation, no performance. "So?" Viviana stirred her coffee. "Family issues? Want to get more specific, or should we discuss the weather?" I laughed in spite of myself. "Direct. I appreciate that. Life is short, particularly at our age." My hands wrapped around the mug. It was easier to look at the coffee than her face. "My daughter and son-in-law see me as a funding source. Yesterday they brought my grandchildren, first time in months, to pressure me for $60,000. Ouch. Did you give it to them?" "No, I refused. And they left angry, taking the children." "Good." I looked up. "Good. You are not wrong for wanting respect. Money doesn't make you valuable. Your time, your caring, your presence, that is what matters. If they can't see that, the problem isn't you." Something loosened in my chest. "It's easy to talk to you. Thanks for listening. I lost my husband 5 years ago. I spent 2 years after that being carefully managed by my children, always checking if I was okay, really, checking if I needed help managing the money." She smiled without bitterness. "Eventually, I told them to back off. It's lonely but honest. So you understand." "I understand. This is what I learned. The right people don't need leverage to stay in your life. They just stay." "Are you staying?" Her smile widened. "Same time next week? We'll see how Duke responds to you." We talked for another hour. Nothing heavy. Books, city neighborhoods, the best coffee shops, easy conversation between 2 people with no agenda beyond connection. When we parted, she squeezed my hand briefly. "Thanks for today. Duke liked you." Driving home, I realized I was smiling. The first genuine smile since the holiday. My phone vibrated at a red light. "Mary, Dad, please call. We need to talk about yesterday." I deleted the message without replying. December the 5th was 2 days away. The will signing would happen with or without her approval. Bobby and Sophia would witness. Patricia would notarize. My legacy would be protected. And maybe, just maybe, there was space in my life for someone who valued me for who I was, not for what I could provide. December the 5th arrived clear and cold. I drove to Patricia Brown's office at noon, the manila folder with my signed engagement letter on the passenger seat. Bobby and Sophia would meet me there, witnesses to this moment, supporters of this decision. Patricia's conference room overlooked the river. The winter sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the polished table where the documents waited. New will, living trust, all arranged in neat stacks. Bobby and Sophia arrived minutes after me. Sophia hugged me quickly. Ready for this? More than ready. Patricia walked in with her notary. She spread the documents before me. Mr. Clark, you understand that this will supersede all previous testamentary documents? I understand completely. And you are making these decisions of your own free will. No coercion. This is the first truly free decision I've made regarding my estate in years. She guided me through each section. The charitable designations, the city animal shelter, the firefighters' burn institute, 70% of everything. The testamentary trust for Mary, 30%. Controlled distribution, no lump sum. The living trust protecting current assets from manipulation or pressure. I signed each page deliberately, my initials where required. The pen felt good in my hand, solid, purposeful. Each signature was an act of reclamation. The sound satisfied something deep within me. Final, binding, protected. Patricia shook my hand. Your estate is now protected according to your wishes. Bobby grabbed my shoulder. Proud of you, brother. I'm learning from the best. We stopped for coffee afterward, all three of us. Bobby raised his mug. To protecting what matters. I clinked my mug against his. Then Sophia's. Simple gesture, deep meaning. How do you feel? Sophia asked gently. I considered. Like I just put out a fire that's been burning for 3 years. That evening, I called Mary. I kept my voice firm, neutral. I need to talk to you and Robert tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock, my house. It's important. What is this about, Dad? Is everything okay? Everything is fine. I've made some decisions about my estate that you need to know about. Your estate? It's not a conversation for the phone. She tried to press. I deflected. Eventually, she agreed. The morning of December the 6th, I arranged the living room deliberately. 2 chairs opposite mine. Distance established. 2 manila folders on the coffee table. Copies of the new estate documents. Coffee made but not offered. They arrived at 10 o'clock on the dot. Unusual punctuality, suggesting anxiety. Dad? Mary's smile was uncertain. Robert nodded, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning my living room as if appraising it. Sit down, please. I gestured toward the chairs. I've made changes to my will. You need to understand what they mean. I slid the folders onto the coffee table. Measured movement. Controlled. Open them. Read page 3, section 2. Mary opened hers first. I watched understanding dawn. Her hand trembled slightly, turning the pages. I've revised my will. The majority of my assets, 70%, will go to charitable organizations upon my death. What? She looked up, eyes wide. Dad, you can't be serious. The remaining 30% is designated for you, Mary. But you will receive it only after my death, through a controlled trust. No advancements, no loans, no early access. Robert's face darkened. Julian, this is ridiculous. We're your family. Exactly. You are my family. Yet for 3 years you have treated me like a bank. $47,000 in emergencies that were actually lifestyle upgrades. Dad, this isn't fair. That money should stay in the family. Fair? The word came out sharp. You excluded me from the holiday dinner. Then you saw Bobby's house and suddenly I was family again. That isn't family. That is calculation. We explained that. You didn't explain anything. You lied. Bobby reminded me what real relationships are like. They are not built on transactions. Robert leaned forward. Your rich friend has been filling your head with ideas. Bobby values me for who I am. Can you two say the same? Silence. Heavy, condemning. Robert stood up abruptly. Fine. Don't expect to see your grandchildren ever again. Something settled within me. Final. Clear. I will see them when they are old enough to understand manipulation and choose for themselves. Until then, they are safer not learning your values. Mary's voice rose. Dad, you're making a terrible mistake. The only mistake was enabling your behavior for 3 years. I am correcting it now. I stood up to face them both. Go live your lives. Build your marriage on something other than my money. Or don't. That is your choice. You'll regret this. Robert's voice dropped to a threat. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. They left the folders on the coffee table, too angry to take them. The door slammed shut behind them. I didn't move immediately. I listened to their car start up, drive away. I watched through the window as the street returned to quiet. I picked up the folders they had abandoned. I filed them neatly in my desk drawer. Done. Not triumph, not victory, just peace. On December the 8th, I arrived at the city animal shelter carrying 2 coffees. I had learned Viviana's order. Oat milk latte, no sugar. She was already there, working with Duke. The old Labrador's tail wagged when he saw me now. You brought coffee? She accepted the cup. Genuine smile. I could get used to this. Considerate payment for putting up with a grumpy retired firefighter. You're not grumpy. Thoughtful, maybe. Quiet, but not grumpy. Give it time. I intend to. We worked side by side for 3 hours. I had learned which tasks suited me. Lifting feed bags, repairing kennel latches, the physical work my body remembered from the fire years. Viviana handled the emotional work, coaxing anxious dogs toward trust. During a break, sitting on the bench outside, she asked carefully, "How did your serious family conversation go?" I showed them the new will. I told them the majority of my estate is going to charity. They were not happy. I imagine not. How do you feel about it? Lighter. Like I've been carrying a weight I didn't realize was there. A good weight to let go of. The best part? I don't feel guilty. For the first time, I don't feel guilty about protecting myself. She nodded slowly, understanding in her eyes. Walking to our cars after our shift. I stopped. I turned to face her, hands in my pockets. A nervous habit I thought I had outgrown. Viviana, I'd like to see you outside of the shelter. Properly. Dinner, conversation, see where this leads, if you're interested. She studied my face, seeing past the words to the vulnerability beneath. I was wondering when you would ask. I'm out of practice. I might be rusty at this. That makes 2 of us. How about Friday? There's an Italian place in the commercial district I've been wanting to try. Italian in the commercial district? Friday at 7? It's a date. On December the 10th, I collected my mail. Among bills and junk, a hand-addressed envelope. Mary's familiar script. I made coffee before opening it. I needed fortification. The letter was different. No manipulation, no requests. Just raw honesty that made a lump form in my throat. Dad, I've had time to think about everything you said. You were right. I let Robert convince me that you owed us, that family meant automatic access to your money. I forgot you were my father, not my funding source. I'm sorry. No caveats, just sorry. If you're willing, I'd like to try to rebuild our relationship without money in the way. I understand if you're not ready. I'll wait. With love, Mary. I read it twice. Then I picked up my phone. "I got your letter." Her voice was trembling. "Dad, I didn't know if you'd call." "I almost didn't, but I read it twice. You took responsibility. That's new. I've had time to think about what you said, about how I've treated you. You were right. I'm willing to try to rebuild, but under new terms. Respect, not obligation. Relationship, not transaction. Yes, whatever it takes. I want my father back. Not my bank, my father." "Then let's start there. Small steps. Coffee next week?" "I'd love that." Her voice broke. "Thank you for giving me another chance." After hanging up, I sat with the letter for a long moment. Hope and caution carefully balanced. She would have to prove the change was real. But I was willing to let her try. That night, Bobby called. "Christmas dinner at our place, December the 25th. Bring Viviana. Sophia wants to meet her." "Are you sure?" "Julian, your family. The kind that matters. And if Viviana makes you smile like you did on the holiday, she's family too." Friday arrived. Dinner with Viviana at the Italian place. Checkered tablecloths, good wine, easy conversation. We talked about books, city neighborhoods, the complicated lives of our adult children. We laughed at shared observations about getting older, about starting over in our 60s. She told me about her late husband. I told her about my wife. We talked about them with love, not dwelling. They would want us to move forward. Walking her to her car, I asked, "Would you come to Christmas dinner at Bobby's? Meeting the friends already?" But his eyes were warm. "They're good people. I'd like you to meet them." Then yes, I would. The shelter approved my application to adopt Duke. On December the 15th, I brought him home. A 13-year-old dog nobody else wanted. He settled into my house like he had always belonged there. The night of December the 8th, that night after I invited Viviana to dinner, we had sat on my back porch. She had come over after the shelter for coffee. Duke lay between us, content. The winter sunset painted the sky orange, then purple, over the city skyline. The city lights began to pop on as the daylight faded. "I spent weeks thinking I was getting revenge," I said quietly. "What was it then?" "Remembering my worth. I thought if I gave enough, did enough, I would earn their love. But it doesn't work that way." "No, it doesn't. Some people will only value what you can give them. Money, things, access. But the right people, they pay with something better. Attention, presence, time." She squeezed my hand. "And what kind am I?" I looked at her, the silver hair catching the last light, the warm eyes meeting mine without calculation or agenda. The right kind. Definitely the right kind. Duke's head rested on my foot. Viviana's shoulder touched mine. The December cold bit gently, but I felt warm. This was not the ending I had envisioned when Robert's call excluded me from the holiday. But it was better than anything I could have planned. Not revenge, not triumph, just peace. And the knowledge that I had finally learned the difference between being used and being valued. The right people pay with attention. And I had found my people at last. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.